Let's talk about the end behavior of a polynomial function. And what we're talking about here is what happens when you go to the left and you go to the right. Where does the graph go? So we're going to start with two of our basic shapes that we know. We have an x squared here, and then we have an x to the third here. And what we're looking at here is two things. We're looking at this exponent, and this exponent is even. And then we're looking at this exponent, which is odd. All right, and all even and odd exponents are going to follow the same pattern. The other thing we have to note is that this coefficient is positive. Okay, the leading coefficient is positive. All right, and we will see somewhere the leading coefficient is negative and what happens. So let's talk about this one first. Y equals x squared. All right, we have an even exponent. When you follow this graph, this basic shape to the left, does it rise or does it fall? And you see that it rises. So if we follow this to the left, it's going to rise. And if we follow this basic shape to the right, does it rise or does it fall? And you're going to see that this also rises to the right. Okay, so if you see an even exponent, okay, if your leading term is an even exponent, it's going to rise to the left and rise to the right, assuming that you have a positive coefficient. All right, let's look at the next one. Right here, y equals x to the third. So this is an odd exponent. And when we follow this shape to the left, we see that to the left it falls. So it falls to the left, and then we follow it to the right, and we see that to the right it rises. Okay, so an odd exponent with a positive coefficient is going to fall to the left and rise to the right. Now let's see what happens to these graphs if we throw in a negative coefficient for the leading term. Okay, so remember what happens if you add a negative in front of our basic shapes. Okay, it's going to flip over the x-axis. So y equals negative x squared. Remember I said it was like a frowny face, so here it is. Okay, it's the red graph. And let's flip the negative x to the third. Let's flip the snake. This part is going to come up here, and this part's going to go down there. So it's going to look like this. Okay, now let's talk about the end behavior of the red graph. Okay, and here, let me get rid of the gray. Okay, so if we're just looking at the red graph, let's talk about this one first. Y equals negative x squared. End behavior to the left, we see that it falls, and to the right we see it also falls. Okay, and that's gonna work for every even exponent that has a negative leading coefficient. And then let's look at the red one. This one has an odd exponent with a negative leading coefficient, and to the left it's going to rise as we go to the left, and as we go to the right it's going to fall. Okay, and you can use these four examples to find out the end behavior of all of your polynomial functions. Okay, you want to look at the leading term, you want to look at the exponent, and look at the coefficient. We're looking for odd and even exponents, and we're looking for positive or negative coefficients.